Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our Friday panel on pushback to the federal census. But first, petition contention.
It's unfortunate when activist judges get to step over the line. We want to make sure that we respect democratic processes, and the 300,000 people who signed the petition and the 400,000 who signed the other petition.
Reaction to an Alberta judge throwing out the pro-separation petition, citing failure to consult First Nations. A ruling the Smith government says it will appeal, a development that arrives as the spring sitting of the legislature comes to a close. And joining us now, Rakhi Pancholi, Edmonton MLA and Deputy Leader of the Alberta NDP. Ms. Pancholi, thank you kindly for coming into studio.
It's great to be here, Michael. It's been a while, and it's a pleasure to see the studio.
It's awesome to have you to chat about this, because there is so much to chat about in the wake of the spring sitting. I'd like to start on the courts and the separation petition, throwing that out. Your party calls the petition dead. The Premier says she's going to consult with her cabinet and caucus on what to do in terms of options. Where do you stand on spending taxpayer dollars on an appeal?
Well, essentially, the Premier has one choice right now. The choice is whether or not she is going to put herself on the agenda in the fall, in October, for Albertans, a separatism referendum. The petition itself, it has been struck down actually twice now by Alberta courts, first in December and again most recently. If the Premier decides to once again invest not just her energy and her government support, but also taxpayer dollars into appealing this decision, she is making it very clear that she wants a separatism referendum, but now the only choice is for her to be the one to put it on the agenda for Albertans. And let's be clear, this isn't actually a big surprise. Her actions have indicated for the last year that she does support having a petition on separatism and a referendum held by Albertans. At this point, Danielle Smith and the UCP have to be judged by their actions and not just their words. And their actions suggest that they are a separatist party, and she is a separatist Premier.
Where do you land on the Premier suggesting the possible use of the notwithstanding clause on the separatist petition?
Well, this is a problem when you've got a Premier who doesn't actually understand the Constitution. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is absolutely crystal clear that Section 33, the notwithstanding clause, does not apply to treaty rights which are protected under Section 35 of the Charter. So there is actually no ability here for the government to use a notwithstanding clause to strike down this decision. Now listen, we've heard the Premier call this decision, most recently by Justice Leonard, undemocratic. Now, she can take issue with the legality. She has a right to appeal the decision, not to use taxpayer dollars necessarily to do that, but she may do that legally. But this is not undemocratic. When the Premier says that, what she's essentially telling Albertans is that she doesn't believe her government should be subject to the law, because, of course, our courts and the rule of law are part of our democratic system. And courts regularly and have to apply the Constitution and the Charter to make sure that governments are complying with the law as well. She may not like the decision, but that does not make it undemocratic, and it is incredibly dangerous for her to call it that.
You're on the committee of MLAs looking at what to do with the Forever Canadian petition. What's the likelihood of Thomas Lukaszik's question ending up on the October 19th referendum ballot?
Well, let's be clear that if whatever the question may be, whether it's the language that was used in the Forever Canada petition or the language of the separatists, at this point, any referendum on separatism that comes forward will be a UCP and a Danielle Smith referendum. She can use whichever question she wants. But as a member of that committee, earlier this week, we heard from a retired Supreme Court Justice, we heard from the Chief Electoral Officer, that the petition itself submitted under the Forever Canada was not actually a petition for a referendum. It was not that, and the over 400,000 Albertans who signed that petition.
Premier maintains there's still confusion over that.
Well, and I know she does say that, but she should have been listening to her members and to hear the presentation at the committee just this week when again, it's a retired Supreme Court Justice and the Chief Electoral Officer made it very, very clear that there is no misinterpretation here, and it is not the petitioner who gets to decide what's going to be done with this. They made it very clear this is not a petition for a referendum. It is a policy proposal petition. And we also heard from from the Chief Electoral Officer that the over 400,000 Albertans who signed that petition, they didn't sign a petition asking for a referendum. They signed a petition saying, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? So if there is going to be a referendum, even on the Forever Canada question, that is because it is the Premier and the UCP deciding to have a referendum. They have to own it. They can't hide behind Thomas Okazik. They can't hide behind the fringe separatist and her party. It is her referendum. So
much focus this week has been on the separation petition. So that means lingering now in the background is the elector list breach. Is it enough that Elections Alberta and the RCMP are investigating? Could or should the government be doing more?
What the government should be doing is leading. We had the release of the electors list to, let's be honest, the most bad actors in the separatist movement is the largest data breach in Canadian history. And we've heard nothing from the Premier to provide calm to Albertans, to indicate to them suggestions about how to protect their financial security, their identity. All of those pieces that Albertans were looking for leadership from this Premier, we have heard nothing about it. She's been very silent on that. And really importantly, no matter what happens, this data breach alone is enough to call into question why there should be any referendum on separatism. There has been an unprecedented breach of personal information of Albertans. It will be used and abused. We also know that David Parker, who is part of that breach, is refusing to cooperate with Elections Alberta and to actually commit to the fact that he's no longer using that electors list. There's no legitimate or valid way at this point for a referendum to be held on separatism, and then we had the court striking it down as well. What the Premier should be doing is leading and saying, calling up her friends in the separatist movement, saying, cooperate with investigators, stop using that list, and we cannot hold a referendum in these circumstances.
We're almost out of time, and the reason we're here to talk is the fact that the spring sitting of the legislature has quietly come to a close. A session where the government brought forward, I believe, 17 bills. All were passed from the opposition side of the benches. What did the session accomplish?
I think it accomplished quite a bit, actually, because we did see a number of bills from this government, but none of those bills address the key priorities of Albertans. We continue to hear from Albertans their top priority is cost of living and affordability. They're concerned about health care. They're concerned about the jobs and their wages, which have not risen. Those are the things that are the priorities of Albertans, but the bills that were introduced in the legislature were things about banning books in libraries and banning flags in schools. None of those issues speak to the heart of Albertans' priorities. Meanwhile, the official opposition continue to bring in a number of pieces of private members' bills focused on protection.
All were defeated by the government. So why the lack of collaboration there? Why can't you get together on some of these and a lot of affordability type measures?
Yeah, you'd think that there should be some unanimity on some of these pieces, and certainly we put forward some good ideas. And of course, the government has a majority. It has the power in the legislature to make sure or to make decisions about what's going to pass and what's not going to pass. We encouraged a number of times the government to work with us. There's some very straightforward, easy yeses for government in there, and they chose not to do it. I think the polarization, the division in the legislature is reflective of what we're seeing outside as well, and there should be opportunities for collaboration, but we will continue to put our good ideas forward to Albertans to talk about the things that they care about, put forward measures that will help them affordability with health care, with good jobs, good paying jobs. Those are the things that we'll continue to focus on and spend the summer talking about, as well as our support for Alberta remaining in Canada and making sure that the world knows and Alberta knows that we are proud Canadians and proud Albertans, and we're focused on moving forward together.
Should be an interesting summer ahead.
It will be.
Appreciate you coming in. Thank you kindly, Ms. Pancholi.
Thank you, Michael.
From winding down the spring sitting to census contention, questions over quality of life in our province, and putting the green thumb to work. Time now for tonight's Friday panel, our Primetime This Week panel. And joining us this evening, Darren Krause, editor and founder of Livewire Calgary, and Bob Sumner, former 30-year news veteran, now a media and communications consultant. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the week in politics, and a busy week at that. And while dominated by a multitude of contentious topics, it also marked the close of the spring sitting of the legislature, a session that saw the Smith government pass more than a dozen bills. Darren, whether policy-driven or political in nature, of the many issues that maybe linger with you in the wake of this session, what's standing out the most?
Well, there are a lot of bills that some may see as limiting the rights of Albertans, whether that's with the library materials, whether it's assisted dying limitations, the neutrality in classrooms, or the so-called neutrality in classrooms, along with creating what many perceive as a two-tier access to medical testing. There was some progress made on immigration and clamping down on some of the bad actors, and also, there's been a lot of funding for education, but interestingly, Michael, I think the one thing that still sticks out to me actually happened probably last legislature session, and that is when the government paved the way. They pulled down barricade after barricade for this separatist petition to continue to move forward. And we're seeing the seeds, or we're seeing the fruits of those seeds being planted before. And that's the situation that we're in today with all of this uncertainty around the separatist petition.
Bob, let's pick up on that very point. Where do you think this final week of the spring sitting leaves the contentious issue of what to do about a referendum on separation now that a judge has quashed Stay Free Alberta's independence petition?
Yeah, it seems pretty messy, and you see all this chatter from people from the separatist movement telling all their friends to join the UCP and try and do a takeover, it looks like. So it's just a mess right now. It's up in the air, and they're not listening to the judge again. So I don't know. It's just going to be messy all the way down.
Darren, we touched on it as well with Rakhi Pancholi off the top of the program about the electors list data breach. How do you feel the Smith government is faring and how that is being handled?
Oh, you mean they're handling it? Look, I'm on the side of Ms. Pancholi here. The government has done nothing on this. They have not made Albertans feel any better about the fact that 3 million electors, the personal information of all those folks have been leaked. I mean, there should be something done. I mean, a lot of people are calling for a public inquiry, and yet we've heard nothing from the province, which leads us to believe post-sitting exactly what Ms. Pancholi said, and that is more and more this government is leaning towards being a separatist government and with a separatist leader.
All right. Well, many Alberta households were drawn into discussion and debate over things like a petition on separation and the massive electors list data breach. There was also the deadline to fill out your census form. When last distributed in 2021, roughly 98% of Canadians filled out the survey. This time, though, some have chosen not to, protesting the Carney government and floor crossings that help secure a majority.
I do feel betrayed by the government. We voted for a minority government. We didn't vote for a majority government. Why can't we have a say?
Filling it out, though, helps the government with planning and understanding the makeup of the country.
It's a key part of our democracy, but it's also fundamental for the basic services the government provides. You're going to want to know where the population lives if you're going to place a school, a hospital, a fire station, a police station. If you're planning transit routes, you need to know where people live and where they work.
For those worried about protection of information?
We are absolutely required under law to keep all of the data that we collect here at StackCan within the walls of Statistics Canada, so we can guarantee the privacy and confidentiality. Completion
of the census survey is required by law, and those refusing could receive a fine of up to $500. Bob, I'll start with you first this time. Did you hit Tuesday's deadline, and where do you land on the questions being asked?
I made the deadline. I did a short form census. I was just talking to my friend that was here in the office. She did a long form one, which she said it took her a little while, but it's all information in your brain. I did the deadline. It's just like, it seems to me like a lot of misdirected anger. You see all these social media posts, but you do you, I guess. So I was good.
Darren, some just not filling it out, others returning the census with angry messages to the Prime Minister. What do you feel that degree of pushback is speaking to?
To be completely frank, I have no idea. To conflate the issue of Mark Carney's, the how he's obtained the majority government with the census. It's an anti-government, anti-establishment, anti-liberal sentiment that's driving this, and it's aimed at a largely agnostic survey that helps the federal government put their finger on what's happening demographically, socially, and financially in the country. I just don't understand how people are putting those two things together.
Bob, the questioner obviously asks a lot of us. We provide a lot of personal detail in our responses. How do you think the electors' data list breach here in Alberta might have impacted the participation of people in our province?
Yeah, well, it may have impacted that a little bit, but I think people just need to go out and shake their fist at the cloud, maybe, for a change. Maybe it made them a little more assistant, but I agree with Darren. Like, it has nothing to do with anything. It's just it's a data gathering thing that helps governments decide where resources are going to go. So, I don't know.
All righty, time for us
Misdirected.
Well, time for us to take a bit of a break, but when we come back, Albertans struggling with satisfaction and sudden growth in gardening. More from our Friday panel in a moment. Welcome back. A recent quality of life survey ranks Alberta as the most unsatisfied place in the country, with many feeling the pinch of financial pressure.
With like what's been going on like in the economy and just like a lot of tough financial hardships that I've seen among friends and other people.
According to Statistics Canada, Alberta has the fewest highly satisfied people in the country at 38.1%. It also has the highest number of least satisfied at 29.1%.
Alberta is a very rich province, but we're also an unequal province. So there's some people who are doing really well and other people who aren't doing as well. I think there is less hope for what's going to come next and what people's futures are going to be looking like.
While Stats Canada says the data is nuanced, it does help paint a picture of what many Albertans experience.
Data don't really tell us specifically about like sadness or happiness or anything like that. It's more that we're seeing a larger percentage of people that rate that really high percentage of 8, 9, or 10 in some of the other provinces.
Of course, there's always visiting the dog park to help pick up spirits. Darren, is it that we as Albertans have higher expectations in life? What's your read on the motivation for these survey results?
I think Albertans' ranking of being least satisfied is a little bit of a self-inflicted wound here. We seem to be going down the same treacherous road as Quebec has, believing that we should somehow and for some reason be treated specially within Canada. When we don't get what we ideologically want, our politicians kick and scream and make idle threats, or they start trying to exercise political isolation. And it rubs off on people because they read about it every day. So when you take that and you couple it with some of the real world things that we're experiencing, like the affordability issues, the challenges with healthcare, I mean, it seems pretty easy to find why maybe Albertans aren't feeling the way that they should in terms of satisfaction. There's a lot of great reasons to be satisfied in Alberta, but a lot of forces at play that just aren't allowing it to take hold.
Bob, survey results like this, what might it say about the so-called Alberta advantage? And could the political environment be playing a role here?
Well, yeah, I call it the Alberta disadvantage sometimes because although we don't have a PST, we have a lot of users fees. But I don't know, maybe this is skewed generationally or something, but I know as a boomer, I'm pretty satisfied with my life. But I think a lot of the younger generation that can't afford to buy a house, maybe their job doesn't pay them as well as it should. But it's still a great place to live. I mean, we have so much going on here that's amazing. So,
all right. Gentlemen, one more topic, and weather permitting, many Albertans will be heading outdoors this long weekend to embrace a budding trend, that being a homegrown solution to high food prices.
Groceries go up, people start to grow their own food for sure. I'm hearing that in BC, where they're much further ahead, that people are going crazy, almost like COVID years.
According to Canada's food price report, families could be paying nearly $1,000 more this year on groceries, and rising fuel costs could further drive up prices.
There's more and more people skipping meals for their kids. So, from a purely practical point of view, access to food and in a cost-effective way has never been more important.
Starting costs can add up, so Green Thumb suggests starting small, choose what grows well in your area, and plant what you actually eat. And benefits, of course, go beyond the dinner plate.
Slowing down. Taking time. Honestly, it's like a respite.
Definitely happier being out here than being inside.
And if you don't have room to plant at home, you can always consider a communal growing space. Bob, high time. We embrace the inner Green Thumb. What do you make of Albertans? And we saw plenty of Calgarians there turning to gardening this year.
Well, I embrace it, guys. Like, I'm a garlic grower and quite successful, actually. I was inspired by this garlic grower that I met. I grow a lot of tomatoes, things in my backyard that I can eat, and there's nothing better than making bruschetta out your back door. But, if you can do it, you should do it, because the food's way better for you. It's not all the GMO garbage that gets sent here, and you just feel better. And if you eat the local food that belongs in our system from our areas, you feel better at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it sure tastes good, too. Darren, how do you see this playing in Calgary with a degree of controversy around the city's new outdoor watering schedule? It's something I read in Livewire this week.
Yeah, there's good news on this front. The lawn and landscaping water schedule shouldn't have much impact on Calgarians' desire to garden, because a water schedule doesn't actually impact being able to water food crops, which is good news. You can water to your little heart's desire. It's just the lawn that can't be watered, and that you have to follow those specific days. So that aside, I think in general there are more people who are just generally turning to it. I know we've got a big garden in our backyard, and it is directly as a result of the increasing food cost.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, gents, 30 seconds each. Winners and losers. Maybe you want to pick one or the other. Darren?
You know what? I can go really quickly. Winner is the new pipeline, 2027. It sounds like, it was announced by the Prime Minister and the Premier today, pipeline to the West Coast. Losers are anybody who had big plans to go out camping or to the outdoors this weekend. Doesn't look like it's really going to be favorable weather to do so.
Indeed, indeed. Bob, take it home.
Okay, I'm going to go with the winners are the people that organized OdaFest this weekend, because it's indoor, so all our cosplayers and anime people are going to be all downtown at the, I think it's the convention center. And then losers is the ongoing fight to do stuff in this province. Like, I think it's just starting to wear people down. So.
All right, gents, we'll leave it.
Loser.
Okay, and we'll leave it there. Thank you both. Hope you have an awesome long weekend. Stay warm.
Thanks, Mike.
You too, Michael.
See ya.
Now, here are a few responses to a recent story posted by CTV News about federal support of Alberta's oil sector being a welcome change, based on our interview with Business Council of Alberta's Adam Legge on Thursday. Hello writes in response this: let the oil flow and make billions, Canada. Jim's not quite so confident. He feels Carney is just paying lip service to Alberta Oil and Gas. He is an ardent environmentalist and will not follow up on any promises he makes regarding Alberta and our oil industry. According to Bobby, Canadians just spent billions on pipelines to the West Coast, but apparently are doing nothing to support Alberta oil. Wendy reminds us Alberta is not the only province in this country, and Dean says it's going to take more than Carney's MOU to quell Western discontent. Remember, you can always have a say. Email us anytime at comments@albertaprimetime.com. Coming up on Tuesday, our province's rainy day fund turns 50, what it has achieved, and what does the road forward look like? An Alberta economist weighs in with his perspective on Tuesday. Until then, have a great evening and a great long weekend, everyone. From all of us at Alberta Primetime, thank you for watching, and join us again next time.